Welcome to Hungry Books. Please subscribe. Make an immediate impact on everyone you meet. Making new friends isn't easy. Meeting someone new almost always entails meandering small talk, awkward silences and uncomfortable eye contact. And so most of us avoid the hassle and the horror of friend making. Yet making new friends is incredibly beneficial. Not only will it expand your social circle, it will also help you develop your interpersonal skills that can bring a host of benefits, both personal and professional. It can be pretty hard to connect with new people, especially if you don't have any shared interests. What's more, whenever you meet someone, you only have around 90 seconds to make an impression. If you don't spark the person's interest in that time, it's highly probable that you'll never spark it. Luckily, it's possible to kindle connection in under 90 seconds. When you first meet someone, pay attention to your body language, eyes and facial expression. You now know that the first few moments you spend with a new person are crucial to forming a connection, but did you also know that people start building the first impression of you before you even open your mouth? The first things a person will notice about you are your body, your eyes and the expression on your face, and all three of these elements need to transmit a feeling of openness. Start with your body. To display openness to someone, you must position your body with your heart aimed directly toward them. This will communicate sincerity, full commitment to the conversation and a readiness to connect. Next, look directly into their eyes. Direct eye contact is a great way to establish trust, making it an essential element of any successful first encounter. Finally, be sure you're the first one to smile. Let your positive attitude shine through your bright grin. The other person will subconsciously understand that you're sincere and open. After you've set this warm and welcoming mood for the encounter, break the ice by introducing yourself. Don't overthink it. Just offer a standard greeting like, "Hi" or "Hello" in a pleasant tone. Then tell the person your first name and encourage them to introduce themselves as well. Once they do so, immediately repeat their name to ensure it sticks in your memory. Brenda. Nice to meet you, Brenda. Finally, lean slightly toward the other person to subtly indicate interest and openness. As you perform this slight lean in, you can either combine it with a firm and respectful handshake or use the hands-free technique in which you leave your hands by your sides. To establish a good rapport with others, you must develop the right attitude. When it comes to establishing a natural rapport with someone, nothing beats talking about shared interests. For obvious reasons, you're more likely to hit it off with someone who supports the same sports team or reads similar books. But what do you do when no such common ground exists? Well, in such cases, you need to establish rapport by design. There are several ways to do this, which we'll cover in the next couple of blinks, but the prerequisite for all of them has the right attitude. You can either have a helpful approach or a useless attitude. A useful attitude means you're focused on what you want out of the conversation, while a useless one is focused on what you don't. If you display a helpful attitude, you will automatically show the positive body language and facial expressions that will make you more likable. On the other hand, having a useless attitude will leave you with passive or negative body language that puts people off. So, if you want to improve your rapport with others, it's best to adopt a helpful attitude. But how exactly should you do this? A useful attitude begins with deciding what you want from each conversation. Therefore, when starting a conversation, consider your end goal and the approach that will help you reach it efficiently. To be likable and credible to others, display clear and consistent body language. As you've learned, a helpful attitude is a foundation for useful body language. But what exactly is active body language? Generally speaking, body language can be divided into two categories, open and closed. Open body language exposes your heart and body, signaling to others that you are not only willing to communicate, but enthusiastic about it. As a result, when two people begin a conversation with their hearts facing one another, they form a powerful connection and mutual trust is likely to increase. On the other hand, closed body language protects the heart through gestures that express resistance, frustration, impatience and nervousness. Crossed arms are one of the most common instances of defensive body language, as crossing one's arms protect the heart and therefore, one's feelings. Turning your body sideways relative to your conversation partner can also evoke a similar feel. And body language isn't just about your body. It's also your facial expressions, which can be open or closed as well. For example, a public face smiles, make eye contact and display explicit expressions such as raised eyebrows, while a close face looks stern and avoids eye contact. Another key to ensuring that people like and trust you are displaying a consistent and harmonious message across your whole body, as inconsistencies will bother people. According to former UCLA psychology professor Albert Mehrabian, a prominent figure in the field of communication, credibility depends on the congruity of three communicative aspects: the vocal, the verbal and the visual. In other words, what you say, how you say it and the signals your body sends while you're saying it all need to be aligned. If they're not, the other person won't feel you're honest, and both of you will feel unpleasant. Just think of a friend telling you that he's fine, while he looks away with crossed arms and taps his foot. It's not hard to know that he doesn't seem okay, which robs his words of their credibility and creates awkwardness. Mirroring mannerisms is natural and can help you make people feel relaxed in your presence. Mimicking others is a fundamentally human trait. Even if you don't realize it, you've been synchronizing yourself with other people since the day you were born. A baby's body rhythm is synchronized with that of its mother. And this tendency to synchronize continues later in life. It's completely natural to adapt to others. For instance, when someone smiles at you, you immediately feel a desire to smile back. This synchronization is a significant part of our lives and is especially important when it comes to building rapport. After all, we do seem to prefer people who are in sync with us. We typically feel best when in the company of people whose behavior is in sync with our own, and studies have shown that we even tend to hire and even date people that look like us. But what exactly is meant by synchronization when it comes to increasing your likability? Specifically, it refers to discreetly copying and subtly imitating the gestures of your conversation partner, as well as their body posture, facial expressions, breathing and tone of voice. Synchronizing your voice with that of your conversation partner is also a particularly powerful tool, especially if your interlocutor speaks in a quiet voice and you tend to be louder. Simply lowering your voice will help put your partner at ease. He'll feel more comfortable talking with someone who shares his same gentle tone. The key to a good conversation is asking the right questions and knowing how to listen. So how do you get a chat going in the right direction? Well, questions are perfect for starting conversations, and they come in two forms: those that open people up and those that close them down. Let's start with open questions, which invite other people to talk. The key is to use conversation-generating words like who, when, what, where, how, and why to request an explanation or opinion from your interlocutor. Closed questions, on the other hand, encourage a yes or no response and are formed with phrases like, are you, have you, and do you. If you ask someone a closed question, for instance, do you come here often? You'll be lucky to receive more than a simple affirmative or negative in return. So it's best to stick with open questions to keep the conversation flowing. However, asking the right questions is only half the conversation game. The other half is active listening, meaning not just listening to the words coming out of the other person's mouth, but paying attention to that person's feelings and emotions as well. So how do you do this? Well, you've got to listen with much more than just your ears. Use ample eye contact, but don't stare. Listen with your body by facing your heart toward the speaker. Lean in and nod your head when you agree with what is being said. And when you want to say something, remember, first, not to interrupt the other person and, second, to enthusiastically respond to what's been said. In 1970, Richard Bandler and John Grinder, the founders of the approach to communication known as neuro-linguistic programming, or NLP, realized that people perceive the world by filtering stimuli via one of three different senses: visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. Naturally, all people use a mix of these three senses as they go about their life, but one always dominates, and knowing which is prevalent in your conversation partner can greatly affect your rapport. People who are predominantly visual care a lot about how things look. They generally tend to think in images, and they probably dress sharply and talk very fast. These people like to use expressions like, "How do you see yourself?" or "I see what you're saying." Auditory people love conversation, have fluid, melodic, expressive voices and enjoy the spoken word as well as sounds in general. As a result, they gravitate toward careers in broadcasting, teaching and the law. They tend to say things like, "Sounds familiar, tell me more," and "I didn't like the tone of his voice." Finally, kinesthetic-focused people like solid things that they can feel. They have lower voices, like textured clothing, and tend to speak very slowly. Often, they'll use expressions like, "How do you feel about?" and "I'll get in touch with her." By matching your responses to a person's dominant sense, you can make that person like you more. So how can you tell which type of learner someone is? Just watch how they move their eyes. In other words, if you're unsure how best to communicate with someone, just look at their eyes. By doing so, you'll learn which sense that person favors and will know how to adapt your conversational style accordingly. Endearing yourself to a new acquaintance begins from the moment the two of you meet. The way another person feels around you in the first meeting is key to your likability, which is why it's essential to adopt a genuinely open attitude and willingness to connect. But remember, speed is of the essence. If you don't get someone to like you within the first 90 seconds, you'll probably never click. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.